Ashley Westwood, two nations. One can be called a footballing heavyweight because they won a World Cup way back, 52 years back. The other team is aspiring to be a heavyweight on the back of this performance at this World Cup. Is that a fair assessment of these two teams?
Yeah, I mean, I think any team that makes the final is going to go down in history. Obviously, if you win it, even more so. So I think whoever gets there will rightly claim that crown and it'll stick. And Croatia, obviously, they came into this tournament with low expectation, like England. A nation of not many people, I think 4 million odd. They have some very good players, obviously playing in La Liga. But we'll see. We'll see if they're good enough. I think hopefully they might just tire out. And apart from the two main players and Mandzukic, the rest for me they're not world class.
Okay, form booms don't matter at this stage, Eugene. Tired legs don't matter. It's about getting on the park, forgetting everything, because you never know, this opportunity may never come again.
I would say what you're saying, but then I have to give it. I mean, fatigue could really get into Croatia's, problem. But the moment you step on the pitch, you want to give it your all. But it's just when will your body fail? That's what's gonna create a problem for Croatia. But obviously, when you go there, you want to give your everything. You give your best, no matter what happens. So it's just that hindrance for Croatia.
Okay, we'll look at those fatigue levels a bit more in detail on the show, because let's give you the lineups which have come our way. The first one is England, and no surprise, a run change from the team that comfortably swept aside Sweden in the quarterfinals. Kyle Walker, Dele Alli, Ashley Young, Jordan Henderson have all recovered from small niggles. They've been named in the starting 11. Eugene, go with what's worked for you. That's the mantra for Gareth Southgate.
Yes, like France, he's been very confident. The players have been very consistent, and he's gone with the same formation, same players. So the consistency is very important. You can see in the tournament is very important, and the players' confidence is, they boost with confidence. And now after going through the group stages and knockout stages, and they've done really well against Sweden. So why not go with the same team? Okay,
Croatia have made one change to the team that started their quarterfinal against Russia. Andrej Kamaric has been replaced by the more defensive-minded Marcelo Brozovic. But in good news for the Croats, right back Sime Vrsaljko has been deemed fit for this match, as has goalkeeper Daniel Subasic. Ashley, lots of quality in the centre of the pitch. You wonder how that back four will shape up against this marauding England lineup.
Yeah, I mean, they've obviously got two strong central defenders. Not the quickest. Vida's okay. The big one for me is Vrsaljko. I think if he was out, we did see him come off with a knee injury, then they would have been putting Vida at right back, and they may have just found themselves all over the place. The other big plus for them is Brozovic comes back in. They looked a better team when he came on the last game. I think they got the tactics wrong. They expected Russia to be super defensive. They weren't. So they needed that key defensive midfielder on the pitch. And when they did that, that freed up Modric and it freed up Rakitic to go forward and influence the final third.
Okay, those are the opening comments from my two guests here. But let's give you a ground report live from Moscow, because WION correspondent Lucy Taylor is there. Lucy, a lot of noise behind you. Yes, perhaps you're one of those screenings, but at the top, a bit of divided loyalties for you. Reporters aren't supposed to be biased, but then England have waited for this stage for 28 years.
Yeah, absolutely. Not so much divided loyalties, but definitely trying to separate the professional from the personal tonight, because as you say, this is a huge moment for any England fan. 28 years since the last semi-final. I'm too young even to remember it. That match has gone down in English folklore. Everybody has heard of it. And it's even longer since the last final, 1966. So every England fan here and in England tonight celebrating. We're told that there are thousands of England fans who've travelled here for the match or just to be in Moscow to see it. But the truth is, of course, this is also a special moment for both sides, because Croatia probably didn't expect to be here either. They're battling for their first ever final. So yeah, fantastic night here, huge occasion, and we'll see what happens.
Yes, I can just see some fans around you and also on our screens, Lucy. But tell me one thing. Obviously everyone's having a party, but are there any waistcoats left in Moscow? Because in our studio, Ashley Westwood has rushed off and found himself a waistcoat as well. So how's the waistcoat production in Moscow this morning?
Yeah, I'm sorry if I've let the side down on that score. Yeah, I think there probably are some for sale in Moscow. I haven't seen too many people wearing them here. It's more England shirts than England flags. But I've heard that that's a big thing back in London, back in the UK. Here, though, there are a surprising number of not just England fans, but Russian people who are supporting England as well. Perhaps surprising given some of the political situations we've had over the last 6 months, but people here are getting behind England. I've seen a lot of Russians saying that they're going to support England all the way into the final after Croatia knocked out Russia in the previous round. So, yeah, great mood here in Moscow. As you say, I'm in one of the biggest and busiest sports bars in central Moscow, and it's just starting to fill up, so I think we're in for a good atmosphere tonight.
Okay, find a good seat. Find a good seat in front of the television screen if you aren't headed to the stadium, and enjoy the game. Lucy, thank you so much for joining us. Just to build on what she was saying, Ashley, it's been a long wait for English fans. They've waited for this, perhaps go back to 1996, the European Championships in England, to see a similar kind of euphoria around an England team.
Yeah, I think it's been more the disappointment that's been worse. There's always been a huge expectation going into either tournament, whether it's Euros, whether it's the World Cup, and we've always believed that we're going to win it, or we've got a team to at least get to semi-finals, finals, and it's never quite happened. Last World Cup, we struggled, we didn't really get out the group, but in this time it's the complete opposite. Now it's kind of no expectation, we're playing really well, we're in this semi-final, and it's a little bit of unknown territory for us because, like I say, we didn't really expect this, but now all of a sudden, now we're thinking we're going to win it.
Yes, he thinks they're going to win it, but 90 minutes plus added time, Eugene stands between immortality and obscurity.
Yeah, obviously, like we saw yesterday, the winning team are ecstatic. It's a matter of, after you lose, you say, I could have done this, I could have done that, but when you go on the pitch, it's when you have to give your all. It's unlike what Belgium did yesterday. They really didn't perform to their potential. So I expect our teams today would try to do the best and, try to avoid those situations.
Okay, I'm going to ask both of you direct questions, starting with you. I know you're wearing your waistcoat, so I'm not going to ask you about England. Can Croatia win this, Ashley?
Well, of course they can. England's back three is inexperienced. Really, Kyle Walker's not a natural centre-half. Obviously, we've all witnessed and seen the quality of Rakitic and Modric. Mandzukic has worked really hard without really scoring many goals, so he can come to the part and provide a real threat. And they've also chipped in with goals from set pieces. Vida scored in the last game from a set piece, so they're a decent side. They're here on merit. Three wins out of three in the group stage, so of course they can win it. I don't expect them to. I think England are better. Man for man, I think we've got a better side. If you take out their four kind of key players, I think we have a lot more in the locker. But it's 90 minutes, anything can happen, or it might be 120.
The bias is showing. But do England have the momentum to knock this Croatia team out?
Yeah, they do have it. I mean, they have got a very young, youthful, confident side that's looking to create history, to change history, or maybe create something different. And where the hope of a nation is on their shoulders. So I think that they will do the best, and they have an edge over Croatia.
Okay, let's not waste time. Let's get into the tactics, Ashley. Everyone's waiting for this game. I'm not going to ask you a specific question today. Just look at this and tell us, where do you think this game is going to be won for either side?
Well, it's an interesting one. For me, Croatia have been better when they've played this three-man midfield, where Brozovic has sat at the bottom, being the defensive one, and obviously Rakitic and Modric have both been free to get forward. But if they are to do that tactic, I think that will play into England's hands. We know England will play the three across the back. Henderson will sit as the defensive midfielder. Lots of width from Young and Trippier on the right-hand side. But England's strengths are Lingard getting this side of the midfielders and Dele Alli getting this side of the midfielders. So with knowing that, you would have to say that Croatia will have to change a little bit. Croatia surely must go like this. They must play Rakitic here. They must play Brozovic here. And their job is to stop this. But what I think will happen is, because of the way England will split nice and wide with the three central defenders, when the ball is with those three central defenders, you will see the Croatian players just dropping off, and they'll be a little bit defensive, and they have to protect this kind of area because they can get outnumbered in here, obviously with Henderson joining in. But what I don't want to see happen, which might happen, is Dele Alli and Lingard will be coming here, and then all of a sudden England will find it hard to get the ball through there to these key players, and it may just end up being a bit of a stalemate with possession being played around at the back between the England players, just looking for that one player to pop out. It may be Dele Alli drops deep, a midfielder drops out, and then all of a sudden it opens up to go a little bit more direct to Sterling down the sides, or even maybe into Harry Kane's chest. And once we get the ball this side of the Croatian midfield. Once we get the ball into this range, then that's when you'll see England come into their own, really, and they'll start to try and dictate the play. But it's beating that mid line of defence, the mid block, if you like, which is going to be really important. So I think you'll see 2 sitters from Croatia.
Okay, so France are through to the final, and they had their president Emmanuel Macron in the stands for that game. Now, English Prime Minister Theresa May won't be travelling because of frosty relations with the Russian regime, but she has wished her team the best for the game tonight. Listen in.
Good luck for the team tonight. I met the Croatian Prime Minister yesterday and we exchanged football shirts. Gareth Southgate and the boys have done a fantastic job and I'm sure that they're going to go on to do well. And I just wish them all the very best of luck tonight.
Okay, now ever since England reached the knockout rounds, fans in the United Kingdom have been convinced that their team and Ashley's team is going to go all the way to the final. The campaign "It's Coming Home" has gained popularity over the last 2 weeks. Here's WION correspondent Ollie Barrett getting us a sense of what the mood is like in England ahead of tonight's semi-final against Croatia.
England in the final of a major tournament for the first time since 1996 and the first time in a World Cup since 1990. So quite a journey this has been so far already, but many England fans are optimistic about what comes next.
I reckon we're going to win. I'm feeling pretty positive.
What kind of scoreline do you think we're looking at?
I'd say 2-1 to England.
And who's going to score those goals?
Harry Kane.
I think they'll do all right. They seem to be in with a chance. They're certainly hungry for it, aren't they? And that's the main thing with sports.
What do you reckon?
3-1 Kane hat-trick.
2-1.
So it's coming home?
It's coming home.
Of course it's coming home.
Come on, the boys.
Croatia will no doubt prove a stern test, though. Luka Modric in midfield, considered one of the best midfielders in world football at the moment. But this England team appears to have optimism and a style of play that they are comfortable with. They also have a manager whose stock has risen throughout the tournament, Gareth Southgate, and the day's been marked as well, earmarked Waistcoat Wednesday because of the sartorial example he is now being held up as. Even if England lose in the semi-final, they will come home to reasonably happy fans. If they win, then the status of national heroes are guaranteed. Ollie Barrett, London.
We know it's Waistcoat Wednesday. We just have to look at Ashley Westwood. But Eugeneson Lyngdoh, if it is coming home, then England need to shut Luka Modric down tonight.
The key personnel in Croatia, obviously Modric and Rakitic, I'd say, the most experienced players. They are very key because he's been dictating games. You could see it in the previous game, and he and Rakitic are very, very vital to their attacking play. So it's important that they try to do everything that they can to eliminate threat posed by these two.
Okay, 8 of England's goals, Ashley, have come from set pieces, 8 out of 11. 3 of the 4 goals Croatia have conceded have been from set pieces. If you ask Gareth Southgate, is that something you want to exploit?
I think they will. Obviously, they know them. They've got a few well-drilled ones. You can never guarantee from a set piece, so there's so many elements that have to come into play. The delivery has to be right first and foremost, which is never guaranteed. You know, you can hit 100 balls and you might only get 10, 15 exactly where you want to put them. Then you have to get the movement right. Sometimes it comes down to a block, and also you have to have a lapse of concentration or some poor defending because you know, this should be easy to counteract. This should be easy to defend, but it's always a mistake that leads to a goal being scored from a set piece. So they're never guaranteed. You know, they've been a big plus at the minute, so he won't be hanging his hat on scoring from a set piece, but he knows he's got it in a locker to have multiple threats. You've got Kane, obviously Maguire, Stones. All of a sudden you've got 3 big lads there, and that is quite hard to mark.
You know, you were mentioning this fatigue levels. You know, I've actually got some numbers down, and they ran 132 kilometers against Denmark, 139 against Russia. That's 15 kilometers less than what England have run. That's obviously going to be a factor for you, but you also have to take into account those emotionally scarring penalty shootouts. That's also going to be, that's also should have taken a lot out of them for Croatia.
I mean, mentally you can get drained out. Fatigue levels are obviously there. It does take a toll on you, but at the end of the day, I think it's what you have in the heart. I mean, like maybe you're tired, but you want to push, you want to give more. That it comes up to that. I mean, players, they're willing to win. How ready are they to fight? You know, for that last inch. So it comes to that.
Okay, we'll tell you how ready England are going to be to win this, because my producer Yash Shah has come up with some fascinating numbers, and I'm going to draw Ashley's attention to it. You're going to see it on our screens very soon. Now, we all know England won the World Cup in 1966. So what else happened in 1966? It could be a coincidence, Ashley. Look at this. In 1966, European champions were Real Madrid. They won it this year as well. Manchester City won the league this year, the Premier League, but in 1966, they also won the league they played in. Chelsea finished 5th. They also finished 5th this time. Burnley were in Europe in 1966. According to this, who's winning the World Cup?
Well, omens, they're there for a reason. So let's all go home now. We know the results, so we don't have to do another show. It's finished.
In 1966, there's one more, Eugene. The reigning Wimbledon champion was knocked out. So the omens are all for Ashley Westwood to throw us a big party on Sunday night.
I can't bet on that, but my heart is with Croatia though. But I don't know, the omens are saying, let's see what Croatia have in store.
Lots of talk about Raheem Sterling. He's hammered by fans, completely hammered. The fan ratings don't have anywhere else. But like you showed us in the last game as well, he gives England a very viable alternative. And also, with Croatia having these tired legs, you would look at England stretching the play a lot, especially with those wide men coming in, really pulling them all over the park. That's going to play into England's hands.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, he gets hammered for records. You know, he's not scored in 24 games. I think 2 in 42 for England. But at the end of the day, we've already looked how important it is to get Dele Alli and obviously Lingard in behind that midfield. But you can only do that if the play becomes stretched. Ideal world, England want to play through the thirds, get the ball nice and easy into the feet behind the midfield. But sometimes you need a plan B, and he's supplying that. You know, he's the one running down the sides. He's the one running his socks off. You know, stretching things, doing unforeseen runs. You know, he runs down the side of the 18-yard box. He's not going to score from there. But if the cross comes in, laid back maybe to Trippier, Harry Kane's in the box. So it's, you know, he's a team player. You know, it doesn't matter if he doesn't score a goal as long as England win, and Gareth Southgate's well aware of that.
Yes, and he's backed those kind of players. Almost out of time, Eugene. I know you said you're a Croatia fan, but give us your prediction for this one, and don't say Croatia are going to win. Well, okay, you can say what you want.
It'll be a tight game, but because of the experience that Croatia have got, I'd go for Croatia 2-1 win.
Okay, you're breaking Ashley's heart. He's breaking Ashley's heart, but that's the coach and his players. That's between them. We'll leave you out of it. Okay, that's it then on this Wednesday edition of Theatre of Dreams. Time for me to thank Ashley Westwood. And I'm going to remind you that hotels in Noida have strict rules when it comes to making noise in your room at night. So please adhere to that. Eugeneson Lyngdoh, make sure that your coach doesn't make too much noise and stop him from jumping into the pool late at night if England win. Hopefully Eugeneson will keep an eye on Ashley, and we're done then. We're just going to remind you that Ashley and Eugeneson will be back at 6:30 p.m. on Thursday to look back on this result and set up the World Cup final. We still don't know if it's coming home, but it's time we got home. Good night.